Hello, I welcome today to discuss on why do the atoms bond. Atoms bond so things exist. Even we exist because the atoms bonds. Atoms are very tiny particles. When they bond together, forming structure, solid, liquid and gas. Unless the bond, we couldn't have any solid, liquid or gas. Even it was impossible for us to exist. In order to investigate why do the atoms bond, we first need to see the elements. We get 118 elements together. But not all the atoms, all the elements form bonds. We get 6 are exceptional. They are not going to make any bonds. This is why we call them inert. We call them inert elements. Other than 6 elements, we get all other 112 elements, some are still to be discovered, form bonds. Look at this. When atoms bonds, their electrons are involved in the bonding. So to know the reason, we need to compare the elements which bond and the elements which do not bond. And let's compare the electron configuration. The electron configuration, and these are some examples of the other elements, electron configuration. We clearly see that the electron configurations are different. Here in inert gases, you see the electron configuration, their outer shell having 8 electrons, except the first one, because first one has only 2 electrons, the sole shell is still full. And for other cases, they have 8 electrons in the outer shell and they are full of electrons. When you compare elements, the other elements with the inert gases, we clearly understand none of them have 8 electrons in the outer shell, which means they are unstable. So they are looking for to have this electron configuration, and this is how they make bond. How? Let's see. If you look at these 2 elements, first sodium and chlorine, and they make bond sodium chloride as compound form sodium chloride. And when sodium bonds with chlorine, the bond is sodium loses its electrons. It is 1 electron in its outer shell. To get electron configuration of neon, this has to lose 1 electron. And when this loses 1 electron, it's now 2,8. And we get 2 changes with sodium. One is electron configuration. Now it gets electron configurations of inert gases like 2,8. And another thing, it forms a cation after losing an electron. So same we get for chlorine. Chlorine has 7 electrons in the outer shell. It gains electrons, and when it gains electrons, the electron number becomes 288. This also gets another change of chlorine. This is minus chloride ion. Now see, sodium gets electron configuration of inert gases, and chloride also gets electron configuration of inert gases. Look, our topic was why do the atoms bond? They bond to have these electron configurations. Some elements are lucky, they already have this electron configuration. This is really beauty of creations. We get sodium gets that electron configuration, chlorine also gets this electron configuration by losing or gaining electrons. And when they do this, loses or gains electrons to have octet, outer shell full, there are no more atoms. They form ions and oppositely charged ions. And naturally, oppositely charged ions are to be attracted to each other and form bonds. That means sodium attracts chloride to form the compound we write sodium chloride. So they are bonded. Their objective, the goal was to have full outer shell for their stability. And when they have this electron configuration, achieve this electron configuration, they get sodium chloride. And now see another way of having full outer shell and forming another type of bond, which is when you consider a chlorine atom bonds with another chlorine atoms. Look at the chlorine having 7 electrons in the outer shell. Here's 7 giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and one given in the middle for sharing with other chlorine. So now this is chlorine and we'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one given in the middle for sharing. Look at the interesting thing. Now when the share electrons in the circle, in this atom, you get now 8 electrons. Same for this chlorine, you get 8 electrons in the outer shell, which means that when the share electrons, they get the electron configuration of noble gases. Here we get electron configuration of argon 288. That's also for this chlorine 288. That means when chlorine gains one electrons, it becomes stable and forms negative ion. And when chlorine shares electrons with another chlorine or with another atom, also form octet, full outer shell. And when they share electrons, these two atoms are bonded. So this is how we get when a metal and a non-metal are processed to each other. What they do, one of them loses electrons, metal loses electron, and the non-metal gains that electron. After losing and gaining, they have their outer shell complete, but they forms cations and anions which are naturally attracted, making the bond. On the other hand, when you get atoms of non-metals only, no metals there, so no metals there to lose electrons, they can have alternative process to have their outer shell full, which is their sharing electrons. When they share electrons, they still get their full outer shell, they become stable and they become bonded. They become involved with each other. That's bonding. And these two are not the only examples. There are so many bonds formed between so many elements. And the main thing is the beauty of creation, what we can say. Some elements already made with stable electron configuration, but the others not with a stable electron configuration. But the other elements also looking for the stable electron configuration. And to have this electron configuration, they need to lose sometimes and gain sometimes or share electrons to have their outer shell full. And this is a thirst, this is a tendency to be stable, and this is how they are engaged in bonding. So this is really beauty because as atoms bond, so things form and we exist. Thank you. If you like this class, stay with us to get more of this type of classes to make your chemistry classes much easier. Thank you.